Hey guys, welcome to the Phoenix Project. Today we'll be talking to James Churches, the founder of Guilty Apparel. Today we're going to be talking about some great stuff, man. Some great stuff. So if you're keen, don't forget to spread the word and let everyone know what's going on down at the Phoenix Project. And yeah, help yourself, guys. Help yourself. I hope you enjoy, guys. I hope you enjoy. Hey guys, welcome to the Phoenix Project. I'm here with my boy James here, man. James Churches. It's good, so good to have you on here. Man, where, mate, it's so good.
It's a pleasure to be here, man. I've seen you online doing your thing, and when you reach out to ask me, it's I like being invited to podcasts. They're fun.
Nah, sweet as, man, sweet as. But yeah, I've really been looking, like when I was last on the my clothing brand, sort of learnt from what you were doing and sort of just learning from you what you were doing. Like you've grown a lot since since I last last texted on Instagram and stuff, and you've you're doing good, man. But let's get started, man. How did Guilty start? Where did it all start? Where did Guilty Apparel all start, man?
Guilty. It's I always wanted to run a clothing line. Well, not always, but from a pretty young age. I couldn't probably say exactly when, but I'd have to say probably around 10 or 11. And I'm sure that probably most 10 or 11-year-olds think that at some point anyway. Anyone who's into, I was skating, racing motocross, and you always want I always wanted the brand name stuff, but we were pretty broke, so I never got it. But I was always thinking about that, and then as I grew up and got into snowboarding and stuff, I was hooked on DC. Like if something said DC on it, I wanted it, and I was constantly thinking, what could I call my brand, like if I ran one? And I had some names that I thought were all right, but they didn't really mean anything to me. They were just words, until I kind of got in some trouble with the cops one night.
Oh no.
Spent some time in the lockup that night, and I'm not proud of it or anything like that, but the silver lining to it was while I was sitting in the cell, I wasn't even in there for long, and I was hitting my head against the wall, to be honest, like quite literally, because I was like, I'm fucked here. And and then all of a sudden my brain was like, Guilty Apparel would be a really cool name for a clothing brand. And that's where the thought started. That was the first time I was like, okay, this name has a real meaning to me now. Like there's a story behind it. There's a reason I thought of it. And it was pretty much after then is when I sort of took off running with the idea and got the logos and stuff made up. But after running it for 3 months, this was 6 years ago now, and I ran it for basically 3 or 4 months. It went nowhere, essentially, and then I gave up. And it's something that I keep bringing up to people anytime I talk to them. It's way harder to do than you think it is. And I thought the first time I launched it, I thought I was working hard to make it a reality. But the amount of effort that I put into it when we relaunched, I look at what I'd done 5-6 years ago and it's laughable. It's like, no wonder it never got anywhere, because the amount of work I put in now is just insanity, honestly. So that's how the name came about. It was something I wanted to do. I haven't actually said the full story to anyone yet of what happened that night, and I plan to one day. There's more detail about it on our website, on our About page, but it's still not the full story, and it's not because I don't want to say it. It's I kind of want it to be the first episode of the Guilty Apparel podcast when I release it. The full story, all the details of what happened before, during, after. So that's kind of like an overview But one day I'll tell the full story, and I got to make sure I can't get in trouble for saying it as well.
Sweet. I can't wait for that. I can't wait to hear that. When do you reckon you'll start that up?
I think as soon as I'm full time working on Guilty Apparel, that's when I want to start doing a regular podcast. At the moment, it's a time issue. Me and the missus, we've started a podcast and we've been trying to get one a week done, but we just can't find the time. So it's one of those things. Once we have a proper setup and stuff like that, and I know I'm not one for making excuses about making time for things. I think there's always time, but I've got more important issues, and trying to grow the business is my priority, not running a podcast. So the day I do that, there will be the full story, and I think people will get a laugh out of it. I didn't do anything overly bad. Wrong place, wrong time, sort of.
No, that's sweet, man. That's crazy how things like that can happen, and it can sort of make a big, like, the small things can make a big change in your life. Just the word of Guilty Apparel, like that's sort of crazy. Like, say if you put another name, who knows what could happen if that night didn't happen, sort of thing. If you know what I mean, like, who knows where you could have been.
That's exactly right.
What inspired you most to start up Guilty?
It would have to be, I mean, besides always wanting to do it and having like a real fascination with brands like DC, there's one person who I don't know, who I consider my mentor, bloke named Andy Frisella. You've probably heard me talk about him a million times. I'll bring it up right now. If anyone is looking for a podcast to help in life, not just in business, the MF CEO Project or Real AF on Spotify, wherever, that's a podcast I've listened to. There's over 300 episodes, and I've listened to every episode about 4 or 5 times now. I keep scrolling back through it because it doesn't just help me in business, although what it's taught me in business has been insane, but it's helped me come up with like a moral code and a moral compass for life. It's just given me so much direction. It's crazy. So that's sort of my inspiration. He was my inspiration behind like making me think I could actually run a business. The lights just turned off in here. But besides that, as well, on the relaunch of Guilty Apparel, I feel like I grew up a lot, and that's probably got a lot to do with my missus and wanting to just do the right thing for our future. And and she's just been so supportive of running it and everything. She's an absolute legend. I'm a lucky man, but she's been a massive inspiration for me as well to do it and not give up as well, and not quit, and make sure that it actually becomes a reality.
No, sweet, man. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. With Guilty and Real as if Andy, I listen to him as well sometimes as well, actually. And I only started listening because I remember you mentioned him, on your videos like a year ago. So I listened to him, and he's got some really good stuff. He's very like the stuff that he does as well outside of the podcast and stuff like that is really good stuff. But what's your next focus with Guilty? What's your next focus? Or even outside of Guilty.
The next focus is this year has been our biggest battle has been with finding a new supplier that we can work with, that we can trust. And I think we've finally found that. It's taken us about 6 months to get there. I'm just going to walk around so these lights turn back on.
No, good.
So it's probably taken about 6 months to get there. And I think we've finally found the right person for the job. But in saying that, I don't have my hopes pinned on it. Things can change pretty quick, but fingers crossed. So once that's sorted out, and because of COVID as well, it's taken ages to get stock. There's just delays going on all over the place. So we've got a bunch of people who are always asking, "You're out of stock. Like, I want to buy this, but I can't." And I'd love to help, but because we can't get a steady supply, it means when I do order, I also can't order everything because we don't have the cash flow, which sucks, but it's just a problem. It's just a problem to have, and you keep going.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping by the start of next year, we can be pretty much on top of it. And then the goal is really more so to start bringing out new products more often. But also, I want to have a really big focus next year on getting into stores. I've not gotten into any stores yet. I've put little to no effort into it. I've been hit up by a few people that have talked about putting me in their store, and the conversations just sort of dropped off and not gone anywhere. And I haven't been too mad about that, though, because of our supplier issues. I didn't want to give anyone a bad impression of us if we were to work with a shop front for the first time. And as you know, with all these lockdowns, so many stores aren't even open. So
Yeah.
I could have just had dead stock sitting there instead of me selling it. So that's going to be a focus next year, I hope. But at the same time, things don't always go the way I want.
No, yeah, okay, sweet. Is there any big clothing stores that you've talked to, like, or has it just been little small businesses, like
It's
sort of small stores?
Yeah, it's mainly been a couple of small stores, and the conversation, it was never really an almost going to happen thing. It was like a bit of a chat about it being a possibility. And I also didn't try and make it happen. I was kind of like, oh, if they really push to try and get it to go, like, I'm not going to say no, but I'm also not going to put all my effort into trying to get them to stock our products because, I'm running out on my own. But in saying that, it's next year. Obviously, it would be a game changer to get into like a franchise store, like City Beach or something like that. That would be an absolute game changer. But that's probably not going to be my initial focus, although that'd be awesome. I'd love to get into some local skate shops and things like that. However, I do plan on just hitting everyone up, starting from a local area and spreading out more and more, and just looking up, skate shops in my area and widening the radius, and just contact them one by one and keep going down the list until we find someone. And even if they'll only stock a little bit, that's cool. If they want a lot, that's cool too. We'll make it happen.
Nah, sweet as. So, like, in a year's time, is there a certain point you want to be at? Do you want to have a certain amount of your clothing in stores by then, or is that not really a big? Sorry, yeah.
I don't have a goal written down for that yet. Just because it's kind of going to be next year's focus.
Yeah.
The big focus besides getting into stores, that's just something, once the supplier's sorted, I think it's the right next move. Once we have a supplier we can trust, and not be worried about small mistakes happening in that process, approaching stores is the best way, because we can just send directly from our supplier to the store and I don't even have to check it. But aside from that, the biggest goal next year, and this is the goal that's written down, is I've essentially got until not next February in 6 months, but the February the year after. So less than 6 months. So, like, what is it? 16 months away is when I basically said to my partner, that's my goal of being full-time on Guilty Apparel. So
as, man.
that's the big challenge, is to get to that point. Can we get there? I kind of think we can. There's a part of me that thinks I could probably live off the Guilty Apparel business now, but I reinvest everything back in. But I wouldn't be living the best life. I'd be living off 2-minute noodles. And
Yeah.
I don't know if we could afford rent where we are right now either. I think I'd have to move back to my mum's place.
Cool, man. So, what's driven you to grow this brand, man? What's driven you most?
Addiction. I'm completely addicted to it. It was when we relaunched, I remember like I was nervous about it. I didn't know, like I was umming and ahhing. And then we made our first sale from a customer who I didn't know, who I'd never met before. And we didn't even have the product yet. And
Oh
who is
no,
still one of
okay.
our best customers to this day.
True. Okay.
And
Yep.
it was that moment that happened because it made me realize, okay, there's people who want this that don't know me. And I remember that feeling, and straight away I was like, oh, that's why people get addicted to running a business. Like it felt good. And my mindset sort of shifted from, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what my mindset was before, but I started looking at business and clothing in a competitive way. Like, okay, business is going to be my new sport. I've grown up not really competing in any team sports, but, skating, snowboarding, motocross, and I'm not doing that stuff anymore. And the reason I stopped is because I had too many injuries. I was in a shitload of debt. And I was worried if I hurt myself, I couldn't pay my bills. And now it's like, well, business is a sport where I can't really get hurt. I mean, there's definitely an emotional toll. It could definitely hurt my bank accounts if I stuff up. But I like the challenge of, and I'm not really looking at other people as competitors either. I do see them as competition, but there's plenty of room. There's enough people in this world for everyone to succeed. But I look at myself like I am committed to beating what we done as a business last year. Like that's what it's about. It's okay. Last year I was able to do this, this, and this. Next year I'm going to double those things, and I'm going to fix that aspect where I was wasting time over there, and just improving. I've kind of become hooked on that feeling. It's weird. I don't know if that happens to everyone, but it happened to me, and it can be a bad thing sometimes because I am always thinking about the business. It's really hard
Oh,
for me to be
okay.
present
Yep.
and focused on something other than running the business.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. Right. So, what's the best part about doing what you're doing with the brand, man? What's your favorite part about it?
My favorite part about actually running it, is packing orders. I love packing orders. It's something I do. It's every day I come home, pack orders, send them out. And especially if we drop a new product or something, it can be quite a job sometimes as well. Like, especially if we drop a new product. It's insane. In our little 1-bedroom apartment, there's boxes scattered everywhere and I'm running around like a headless chook. But I love packing those orders and knowing like that I'm sending them out. And that's the thing I enjoy most about actually running it. But the best thing that's not about me running it is if I see someone wearing it that I don't know. Like I'm driving down the street and I see someone walking that's wearing it. That is an incredible feeling. And most of the time I actually know who it is, and not personally, but because I have real interactions with our customers. Like I don't look at our customers as numbers, although it's getting harder and harder to keep up with them.
Yep.
I really try and chat with them. I'm following them all on Instagram if they use it. So most of the time I'm like, oh, who's that? And I'm like, oh, I think that's, and I can look them up. I'm like, hey, I just saw you. But although that doesn't happen often with COVID going on because no one's meant to go anywhere. But there's been a couple times where I've seen people and got to say good day and things like that. And it's awesome that people are out there actually supporting what what we're doing here and helping a dream become a reality.
No, sweet. Yeah, I've seen like on your stories how like you have you create competitions and stuff like that for people to sort of compete to win, like say some merch or something like that. Is there what would be some things that you do to create the community, like in that sort of like with that sort of stuff?
The competition, man, that was such a hard thing to get the ball rolling on, and it still continues to be. So it's our weekly Instagram Reels competition. It was originally just skateboarding until I switched it up 2 weeks ago now and said I'll accept any clips, as long as it's mainly around extreme sports, but also if you're doing something awesome, like, I don't know, doing a big cliff dive or something like that, I'm into it. I just want to see people doing some cool shit. And getting that going, though, wasn't as simple as just saying, all right, every week we're going to give away a $50 voucher for skate clips. I literally had to go through our followers and like find, and I'm still doing it to this day, is if I find someone who's already uploading reels, or I can see their skate or snowboard or BMX or whatever, I've got to tell them. And even then they're like, oh yeah, I'll check it out. They don't, some do. It's just the way it goes, but you've got to keep on top of it. And you've got to promote it constantly. But I do that because I think it's a really good way there's a bunch of kids out there who want our gear. And whether it's their parents are not the best financial position, or they don't want to ask, or whatever the case is, it's a great way for kids to be able to actually win some free gear off us. And then as well, it's a good way for us to look out for kids that we might want to sponsor, and not just kids as well. It's not for kids, but it's mostly kids that are entering. They just seem to be the ones who are more willing to participate. But I'm enjoying doing it, and it's cool. We're getting more and more people out there repping it that are involved in the sports that we want to be involved in.
No, sweet. Is there other things that you do to try and get the community together?
Yeah, we also run a customer competition, and that's just for content. So it doesn't matter what they do as long as they're wearing our merch. That competition ends on the 1st of September, where we'll be giving away a $200 voucher for that. But I don't think we're going to continue running it that way. I was only talking to my partner about this last night. I think instead we're going to come up with a way of anyone who gets content for us, like directly giving them a reward if we use the post. Because we can't exactly say, hey, if you upload a pic, we'll give you a $20 voucher for the store, because then you have someone just upload 20 pictures in a row that are all shitty quality and that don't really help at all. But if we use the picture on our page, then I'm thinking that whoever created that content, whether it be video, photo, whatever, should get a reward for that. And it's how much is a post worth is what we're trying to work out.
No, sweet man, sweet man. So what's your favorite thing about you? Like, what do you like most about your customers?
They keep coming back. They are so loyal. It shocks me. It shocks me because I never expected this to go as well as it has. And I have days where I'm not in a good mood about what's going on, because there's always problems. But we've got so much support from our community, and I think it comes from all the interactions we have that are personal. We don't send copy and paste messages and stuff like that. We actually talk to people, which is an insane amount of work. But so many people are just willing to always be sharing our posts, and there's plenty of people that are a part of our brand that are actually, they've got every single item we've ever made. and some even more. Then they start buying the same items for their family. We're on their list for all right, we're coming to you guys for Christmas. We're coming to you guys for birthdays, which is awesome. That's what's enabling me. I say us because it is us. It's myself and my partner, but it is my dream, and they're helping that dream become a reality, which is just a great feeling.
Sweet. So what's the dream, man? What's your dream for the future? Like, what's the goal that you want to reach?
Red Bull status.
Oh,
I want to be.
okay.
I want to be.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about energy drinks. I'm talking about we want to be a major sponsor for extreme sports worldwide, from Formula One to snowboarding to cliff diving to aeroplanes to who knows what's going to be happening in the sports world in 40 years. That was going on up in space, thanks to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Whatever sports happen up there, I want to be involved. And it's just because it's the life I wish I kind of grew up in. I watched, Travis Pastrana Land, or Rob Dyrdek or whatever. I look at that and I'm like, I wish I grew up with that sort of shit going on around me. I didn't, but I'm hoping that I can give that opportunity to my kids. If they can grow up and do all that crazy shit that I wish I could do. And now I'm past that now. I'm scared of getting hurt these days. But that's the goal, and get to go to those events as well. I love watching stuff like that. So that's a huge, audacious goal. And I feel weird saying it because so many people will be like, that's never going to happen. And there's a part of me that doesn't think it'll happen either. But it's a big enough goal where it makes me think I'm not going to quit anytime soon. It's so far. I'm like, all right, well, it's probably going to take me 60 years. So when I have a day where I want to quit, it's like, well, I can't quit because I'm not even close.
Oh, sweet. So, what's one thing that got you into extreme sports? What got you into that?
I think I'm not sure where it started, honestly, because I know I was skateboarding pretty young, but I didn't fall in love with it. I was skating, but I didn't fall in love with it. I fell back in love with skateboarding when I was 13. But I was doing it when I was little, and then I stopped. And there's a period of time I don't remember, but I do remember watching the Krusty Demons.
Oh, yeah.
And wanting a dirt bike, or it must have been, I feel like I was young when I started wanting a dirt bike. As old as I can remember, I wanted a dirt bike. And I used to have the most vivid dreams that there was a dirt bike in the shed. I'd wake up and I'd walk out to the shed thinking that there was going to be a dirt bike in there for me because I dreamed that someone had bought me one. And it never happened until I turned 11. And then the day finally came. I was 11. It wasn't for my birthday. It was for Christmas. And I got all my presents, and it was all this motorbike gear. I'm like, all right, cool. This is awesome, but I don't have a motorbike. And then Dad's like, all right, let's go out to the shed. And went out to the shed, and there was my first Pee-wee 80.
Oh,
and
awesome.
Fell in love with motocross. Loved it. Probably just, we didn't get out enough living in the city. We did get out most weekends, but it was a bit hard when I was younger. My parents they're split, and they're both in good financial positions now, but when I was growing up, they weren't.
Okay, yeah. What was it like growing up? What was your Yeah, what was it like growing up, man?
It was, and I had four loving parents. I've got stepmom and stepdad who are both awesome. Um, I'm best mates with my dad. I worked with him as a carpenter for 8 years, every single day for 8 years. He's an absolute legend. And my mum, I'm super tight with her. She's an awesome human being, to be honest with you. The only thing, like, I really can't think of anything negative about our childhood, except there was things that I couldn't do, and it was purely money based. And I know one of them, like I remember the first time I went snowboarding, I was hooked, and I was like, I want to do this, and Mum just said we can't afford it, and I went, oh, all right, fair enough. And then I remember I was just waiting till the day I turned 17, 9 months to get my P's. And the day I got my P's, I was at the snow every weekend, and I chased it around the world for a while as well because I knew I loved it. But yeah, those things happen, but there's really no complaints. I, I, I had it pretty good, that's for sure.
Nah, cool, man. Do you still do a lot of extreme sports like snowboarding or anything like that anymore?
I don't have the time for any of that stuff. I get out for a skate every now and then. Um, I surf. Obviously, I'm actually hanging for a surf. I only got into surfing last year,
Oh,
and
true. Okay. Yep.
I've skated, I've snowboarded, I've wakeboarded, and I've been surfing a couple times prior to last year, and I always hated it. Surfing's hard. But last year I was like, okay, I'm gonna like seriously give surfing a proper crack and like not just go once. Like I'm gonna go every weekend. And surfing is bloody awesome. I love it. It's just, it's as well starting from being a beginner at something too is always fun and getting better. But it's been a couple of months now because of lockdowns and because of the cold weather. And last time I went, I ripped my wetsuit, so that had to get sent off for warranty. But as soon as these lockdowns are over, you'll find me at the coast every weekend.
No, sweet man. Yeah, that's something I've always wanted to try surfing because I've really never had like where I've lived is like because I used to live up in Cairns and like in those areas there's just you can't there's no well you don't get any waves up there either. But also, there's always there's freaking crocs everywhere in the waters up there. So,
Yeah,
um,
you don't want to play with crocodiles, that's for sure.
yeah, so yeah, at some point I want to like at the moment I live 2 hours away from Brisbane inland in a small town called Warwick, and I want to try and go to the coast so I can do things like that, try surfing, and sort of live that sort of beach life. But yeah, what is there other things that you want to try out outside of Guilty, like other business ideas that you have, sort of thing?
Um, there's only one other business. I wouldn't say it's a business or one other thing that I've put a lot of thought into, even prior to running Guilty, and I don't have any plans of this happening anytime soon. It's kind of Guilty is my sole focus, and I don't know for how long that's going to be. At the moment, I think it's my sole focus until I die. But obviously, at the same time, I think there comes a point where if you're running a business right, you can get it to a point where it's not running itself, but instead of working in the business, I'm working on the business, and building more contacts and things like that. Um, the other thing I've given thought to is the schooling system and the way it's run. I don't know how I'd fix it, but this is my opinion on it. I was always in trouble at school, constantly being suspended, for all sorts of things, just always mucking around, getting into fights and stuff, just all this dumb shit, just distracted. Couldn't sit still. and I just think that there's got to be a better way. And like, if I think about it for me, it's like, why didn't I think learning the basic skills are important, how to read, write, basic maths, all that stuff is important, especially if you end up, you love something to do with science or whatever, or you love writing, you love, you can find stuff you love in that, but that's not my thing. And I know that. And I knew that from a young age as well. If I could have quit school earlier, I would have. But to me, it's like, why didn't they have classes like, you have your skate class, your surf class, and I know there's schools that do those sort of things. But I'm talking about on a more regular basis, not just like a once a week thing. Or instead of art class, tattoo class. That's what pigskins are for, practicing tattooing, like graffiti class, all the things like, if I was in a school like that, and if I was sitting in English class bored out of my brain, but then teacher says, well, if you don't do this or you're not paying attention here, then you're not going to tattoo class after, you can't. I know I would have sat down and shut up.
Yeah.
And that gives me like something like that. As well in a school, I picture there being like Brazilian jiu-jitsu classes, a more activity-based school. And there is absolutely no plans of me delving into that, but it is something I think about and I've thought about a lot, that I wish that existed. And if it gets to a point where I can be a part of making something like that happen, with the resources I plan on building from this business, I'd love to be involved in something like that.
Oh, awesome. No, that sounds
But if
good.
someone else does it first, I'm all for it.
Sweet. Is like something like with the youth and stuff, is that something that you sort of want to like help in a way? Is that an area of thing that you think about?
It is. And it's purely because of I say troubled youth, but it's not troubled. Things weren't going wrong at home or with family. It was just, I think the day-to-day basis of schooling and stuff was so not for me. It just wasn't like going to school. I was like, oh, how am I going to get in trouble today? Like anything to get out of sitting in a class bored. And I got decent grades, but it was always just my behavior letting me down. And I'd love to be a part of that and working with kids who sort of have the same opinion as me as well. And another thing I think about is taking kids or youth on experiences like, taking people on a snow trip, because my first snow trip, I loved it. It was some of the most fun I've ever had. And I'd love to do that, get the Guilty bus, get a bunch of kids on there, take them to the snow. Yeah, spend the weekend there or the week, whatever the case is. And that's why, like, since launch of Guilty, I've been putting money aside for a charity.
Oh, awesome.
And I haven't donated any of it yet. It's sitting in an account. It's just waiting there because I want to find one to get involved in that has something to do with that. But I'm not going to do it until I find the right one. Or if, I don't find the right one in however many years, maybe I'll be launching my own thing, even though that's probably the goal anyway at some point. But I'd really like it to be experience-based, about going and having a good time. I think it's important.
Nah, sweet, man. Because, like what I think about school, they just sort of, how it's set up, it's just sort of set up, just forces you to go only this direction. Like you can't, like, especially in like primary school's good, but once you hit like high school, it sort of forces you in a direction where if you like say if they had something set up for other people that want to sort of go in another direction, schools could be very more successful with getting people out doing good in school sort of thing. But
Yeah.
but yeah. So with Guilty, what has been the worst part about it?
Uh, there's two answers there. There's two answers. Um, Number one, the worst part, but it's probably been the worst challenge, has been finding a supplier. When we first started and we were small, we had a good supplier, but what's happened is we've outgrown our supplier. They couldn't keep up with what we were doing, and
Yep.
the more we started ordering, the bigger the mistakes they kept making were, which is obviously, I don't want to sell a inferior product or something that's no good. So that was like just super mentally draining trying to figure that out. But I think we finally figured it out. Let's hope. Fingers crossed, as I said before. But the second thing, and it's a love-hate, it's got to do with the fact that I'm running an online business and it's all through my phone. Prior to running Guilty, I was the type of person who I would look at my phone. My screen time on my phone 2 years ago would have been less than a couple of hours. I wasn't someone who scrolled through social media just looking at things. In fact, I had, like, I didn't even follow anyone on social media. I didn't look at it. I just considered it as a waste of time, essentially.
Yeah.
And so my phone was only for people to message me or call me. And, when I got home, my phone went on charge. It sat on the bench. And even if it rang, I probably wasn't going to get it. That's just how I was. But now my phone is attached to my hand 24 hours a day. And I dislike that. But at the same time, it's what's given me the ability to make this happen. So it's a love-hate. I hate that I'm always doing it, but what it's enabled me to do is why I love it. And I am capable of putting it away. I've just got to put it well and truly out of my reach, which is the same. I get home, chuck it on charge. I try and be off it by 6 p.m. at night. But as people would know that are following Guilty, you'll get a response from me after 6 p.m. because I can't help myself. But yeah, that's the hardest thing about it. It's an online business. We're going 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Okay. So is there something that you wish you were better at with running Guilty, or that you want to get better at?
That's a good question. And I think the answer is going to be, what would you call it? I don't know if it's leadership or if it's being able to give someone else a job. There's a word for that.
Yeah, I got the idea. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because I want to do everything, because I want to do it my way. If I do it, I know it gets done right, which is fine for now because we're not employing anyone.
Yeah.
But once we do start getting employees, which is going to have to happen, which I can't wait for that to happen, I think I'm going to have a real issue with letting go. And this is what my partner tells me all the time. She's like, you are going to find it real difficult. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So I think that's going to be the biggest challenge. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm currently reading leadership books to try and get into my brain that I'm going to have to, be willing to let someone screw something up to then make sure they get it right and that sort of thing. So it's not, at the moment, I think I'm doing good, but just my personality type and how this has been my life for the last almost 2 years, it's going to be really hard for me to let that stuff go.
Okay. Yep. So So what's a common reason that you think other people that are trying to get into the clothing industry fail? Do you have a what would be a common reason that you think people fail in the clothing industry?
They think it will be easy. They think you get a cool logo, you print it on a shirt, and people will buy it. Doesn't work like that. That's what I thought when I originally launched Guilty. And this is why I have this perspective, is I launched it once with that opinion and it went nowhere. I launched it 5 years later and it just keeps going up. And it's purely because of the amount of effort that's gone in. Yeah, I think most people, I know for me 5 years ago, it was kind of like a money grab. Oh, if I just make this cool logo, print it on a shirt, I'll sell it, and in 12 months, I'm going to be rolling in cash. It's been almost 2 years and I haven't taken $1 out of Guilty Apparel.
Damn, man. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well,
So that's I don't know if that's the common thing I see. It's not a mistake that people are making so much either. I think it's just a way of looking at it, how it works.
just the thought of it. Yeah.
And yeah, just the thought of it. And it's not the hardest thing in the world to do. It's pretty easy to get a logo made and get it printed on a shirt. So it's the barrier to entry is tiny. It's really small. Like, you maybe need $1,000 and you can get a website up and running and you can buy 50 shirts and then you could go. But just because you've got 50 shirts sitting there, it doesn't mean anyone's going to find your website or find your Instagram. And even if they do, it doesn't mean they're going to buy it. There's, you got to work to actually get people out there wearing it. And get one customer, turn that customer into two, and just keep going from there.
Sweet. So what would be the biggest advice you would give to someone that wants to get into creating their own clothing brand?
I would say, first off, keep it simple. All you need is one logo and one tee. That's how we started. We had more logos, but we started with one tee, a black tee with a white logo, and we got 50 shirts. We did start with an overseas manufacturer straight away, but I would also suggest working with a local supplier and local screen printer because it's going to make life 10 times easier. It's going to take the pressure off your brain. Keep it as simple as possible. And that way also, grow from there. If you can't sell those 50 shirts, it's no biggie. You haven't lost much. You haven't wasted a bunch of time trying to work out an overseas supplier, things like that. But if you do, then you go back and then you get another 50 of the black and you get 50 of white. And then you sell the 50 black, the 50 white, and then you get 50 gray or whatever color it is. And then you release a new design. Just take it one step at a time. Don't think that you've got to release I think we've got 40 different products now. Don't think you've got to come up with 40 different products from the start, which is also what I tried to do the first time I launched Guilty. I think I tried to start with 12 products. That was a waste of time. Start with one, keep it simple, and build from there. And keep reinvesting the money you make. That money that comes from the business is not for you to go and buy beers on the weekend. It's to put back into the business and grow it more. If you want it to be something that one day is, paying your salary.
Oh, sweet. Well, thanks for that, man. That's all the questions I got for you. Like, I really appreciate for you coming on. Is there anything you'd like to share before we end the podcast, man?
No, I'd just like to say thanks for thinking of me. I love having a chat with someone and doing a podcast. I listen to podcasts all day long. it's the best way for me to learn, is just to have these headphones on and just cruise around my day listening to people talk. So am I still there?
Yep. Yeah, you're good.
So I absolutely love being a part of this. So thanks for thinking of me. And I'd just like to say to anyone, come and check us out on Instagram at Guilty Apparel. We'd love to have your support on there. And also, if you like the merch, we'd obviously love you to become a customer as well and come see what we're all about. But just come check us out on Instagram first, and then you might get hooked.
No, sweet. Well, yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Yeah, guys, go check out the Guilty Apparel on Instagram. And yeah, thanks again for coming on. And I'd love to do this sometime in the future again. But yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Let's hit it up again in sometime in 2022.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course, sweet. Hopefully by then, Guilty's in some stores, eh?
We'll see. Yeah, exactly. I'll give you an update.
Yeah, some updates. Sweet as. Well, yeah, thanks for that, man. And yeah, Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode with James Churches, the Guilty Apparel founder. I hope you really learned some stuff, whether it was business-wise or even just life-wise, guys. But yeah, if you enjoyed it, guys, don't forget, spread the word. Let everyone know what's going on down at the Phoenix Project, and help yourself, guys. Don't forget to help yourself. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and hope to see yous at the next episode. Have a good one, guys. See yous.